was having a wonderful, peaceful conversation with this guy named Anthony Weiner. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy or not.
Yeah.
He's a very, interesting
I saw
guy.
that podcast.
Yeah. So, and I asked him a question where I say, so let me ask you, how good are you at giving blowjobs?
Whoa. Patrick Bet-David is here on the Joe Rogan podcast. Patrick Bet-David from the Valuetainment channel and the Patrick Bet-David podcast is a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast here. And yeah, I saw a bit of that interview that he's referring to, and it was absolutely outrageous. Perhaps I'll do a separate video about that. But let's carry on and see what PBD has to say about what Anthony Weiner was saying.
And he looks at me like, kind of a freaking question is that? He says, I'm sorry? And I said, yeah, how good are you at giving it? He says, no. I said, when you were 11 years old, did anybody teach you how to give one? No. Why would they teach me that? That's what they're teaching in schools right now in many different places. Oh, they're not doing that. There's no way they're doing that.
There
right?
are books that do show that. Yeah.
There are books, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a person wants to sell that book at Barnes & Noble, go for it. If a person wants to sell that book on Amazon, go for it. But what do you think about parents that are protesting all over the place, where in some districts, these guys are saying, no, this is recommended reading by the teacher, and it's normal, it's okay, you should learn about this at an early age. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's very clear that there are certain teachers that have an agenda, and that their agenda is to indoctrinate children into this LGBT mindset.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely clear. If you watch the clip that Patrick Bet-David is referring to, it is absolutely disgusting. There's a book which is, I mean, I can't show it here. I don't even want to describe what's in it, but they're literally teaching children, 10, 11 years old, how to perform sexual acts, how to perform homosexual acts. It's outrageous. And PBD is completely right to be outraged by it. Joe Rogan, of course, is kind of hedging his bets and saying, well, this, that. Let's see what he says. But I'm already not impressed with him.
And that this is not just cherished, but celebrated. And, if you're talking to someone who is a gay kid, great. That's great. If you want to tell them that it's okay to be gay and, you should be your...
How does the kid know he's gay?
True self, great. That's terrific. What my concern with is that a lot of what we're seeing with, like, New Jersey had an uptick in kids identifying as non-binary by 4,000%. Like, It's not natural. These are not normal numbers. And I think children are very malleable. They're very impressionable.
Yes, they are open to brainwashing. Literally, the job of parents and of society at large is to, if you want to use the term brainwash, in other words, to civilize children, to bring them up with the values and the mores of the society at large in which they live. But if that society is breaking down, if that society is degenerate and declining, well, then you have what we see today in a lot of Western countries.
And if you reward them for certain kinds of behavior, if they are praised and cherished for certain types of behavior, I think they'll be encouraged to do that. And I think you're seeing with a lot of these detransitioners that a lot of these kids got encouraged early and got put on hormone blockers and hormones and got mastectomies and got castrated, and now they have deep regret.
Jesus, this is absolutely, when I think of this, it just boils my blood. Yeah, and I have 4 daughters, one of whom is, 3 of them are adults, they're living their own lives, but I still have one who's a child, who's 12 years old. And just the thought of so-called educators at school trying to brainwash my child into this nonsense makes my blood boil.
And people don't want to acknowledge that, and they attack those people. They attack those detransitioners. We have always thought that young children are not capable of making life-changing decisions at an early age. That's why we don't allow 7-year-olds to get tattooed. Right. And now all of a sudden you're allowing 7-year-olds to say that I'm a girl or I'm a boy, cut off my breasts and put me on testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous how anybody can even make some kind of argument in favor of that just blows my mind.
That's craziness.
What percentage of parents do you actually think, obviously we don't know the exact number, but what percentage of parents, left, right, middle, think that's okay? What do you think that percentage is?
That's interesting. I would not know. I would just be wildly guessing.
What do you
But
think?
there's
Even
a,
if we
there's a
guess, what would
certain
you say?
amount of people that are in the progressive mindset that is essentially a cult. Look, there's cult-like thinking on both the right
Sure.
and on
Yeah,
the left.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
cult thinking. It's conglomerations of opinions that you adopt and you defend because that keeps you in the tribe. And the LBGT, whatever the other numbers are in letters, what that is it's a flag that you're flying to show that you're on the right team, that you're progressive, you're open-minded, you're on the right side of history,
Yeah.
you're inclusive. This is what they're doing.
Yeah, Joe Rogan makes a great point here. Another term for this is virtue signaling. You're showing your tribe, so to speak, that you're one of them and that you are a good person because you believe these things, which are supposedly good, but they're not good. They are they're anti-civilizational, in fact. They are dysfunctional and dis-civilizational. And they're just evil.
And that has an effect on people psychologically. I think you should allow people to be who they are. And you should be open to people being who they are no matter what it is. But to encourage them to go in a specific direction.
Yes, people should be allowed to be who they are. I agree 100%. But it's one thing to allow people to be who they are. It's another thing to promote this in the public space.
I think there's real repercussions for that. And I think you're seeing that with these detransitioners.
You think it's 1%, 5%, 10%, 15%? You think it's 20 plus? Like if you were to guess.
I don't think it's 20 plus.
I don't think so either.
I think it's a vocal minority. The same thing with people that think that trans athletes should be able to compete with women and biological women in women's sports. It's a very small, very loud minority.
Do you think that's kind of like, let's just say I'm your friend, okay? And we're out at a restaurant. And you know how there's the guys that all of a sudden somebody's going to say, Joe, you're picking up a topic, we're having dinner, we're having a conversation. Hey, what do you think about voting this way? And one of your friends, this guy feels like I have to agree with 100% of what Joe says because it's Joe. Joe's my boy. Joe said this. Joe, you're 100% right. And then you got one of your friends like, I don't know if I agree with you, man. I think it's this, and you're having a debate. Do you think there's a part of the political party where they feel like just because I'm a Democrat, I have to agree with 100% of everything they're pitching me?
There's a bunch of people like that. Yeah, there's a bunch of like full-on cultists, and they're blue no matter who.
Yeah.
And that's their mind, and in their social circle, like this is how you talk and communicate.
Oh, he's absolutely right. Patrick Bet-David brought up a good point. Joe's agreeing with it, and I've lived it. I grew up in a family where literally everybody is a blue no matter who. Exactly what he said. Progressive Democrat, more old school Democrat, I would say. Progressive in the old school sense of the word, not this modern madness. But still, it bleeds in, because they feel that they are progressive and that they have to accept everything because if they don't accept these things, oh, that's bad. No, that's absolutely a thing. And when I say my family, I mean my entire family, not just my parents and my sister, but my aunts and uncles and cousins, my entire extended family. I was a complete outlier.
Communicate. And, I've had conversations with those people, particularly when I was in LA. And when you confront them with facts, they're in denial. First of all, they don't know the facts. They're in denial about it. They think that what you're saying is propaganda, that what you're saying is right-wing bullshit and conspiracy theories. I remember when I first started talking to Jordan Peterson about that bill, what is it, C-16, that's up in Canada, that is a hate speech law that mandates you using whatever the person's preferred pronouns are. And at that point, there were like 48 different preferred pronouns that were going to mandate. And people are like, why are you concentrating on that? This is something that exists in colleges. This is not something in your world. Like, why is that of concern to you? Because people graduate from college and they take these ideas they've been indoctrinated with, and then they enter into the workforce. And that
Excellent point. That is exactly what has happened in the United States over the decades. all this woke nonsense didn't come out of nowhere. This has literally been making its way the long march through the institutions for decades. And this is the result. By their fruits, you shall know them. This is what we see with this kind of mad, satanic, woke ideology. It is here.
That's what we're seeing. And that's what killed Bud Light. That's literally what killed Bud Light. That they tried to enforce these ideas that they had been ingrained with in these educational institutions, and then they tried to put it out there in the world.
Yeah. So Joe, how old are you? You're
55.
Okay, I'm 44. Okay.
I'll be 56 in a couple of weeks. So
You'll be 56. Well, you look great for a 56-year-old. I'm just looking at your place. You're walking around, walking behind you. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's in shape. So, but okay, 55, you're going to be 56. From your experience at this age, when did you and I care the most about what people thought? What age were you when we cared the most about what people thought?
When I was a kid.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So how little do you give a shit about what people think about you today?
Well, I don't want people to be wrong. I don't want people to have an incorrect opinion about my position
Sure.
on things or who I
But
am.
do you lose sleep at night
No.
with people? Okay, so that's the point. So
But also, you and I are used to dealing with the opinions of an enormous amount of people.
Totally agree. Totally agree. But let's not pick people like you and I. Let's pick a regular guy. One of your guys out there, you know, that I won't mention names, that, you know, he's always with you. Do you think he cares more at 42 years old what I think about him?
Less.
Less, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So-
it's life experience, right?
So let me ask you this question. As a 55-year-old man, if you were really gay right now, Joe, would you care about coming out?
I wouldn't, but I do have friends that are my age that do care, and it's sad.
Okay.
But they're worried more about how their family is going to perceive it and how their family's going to be treated about it.
You know, by the way, I'm not trying to convert you to, you know, for both of us right now to make an announcement, public announcement right now. Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David came out, and
We're both getting married.
we're both getting married. Who takes whose last name? So,
We'll hyphenate it. Like good to,
Okay, I think PBD is about to get to some point here. Let's see what he's about to say. By the way, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get back to the video.
progressives. When I see a dude with a hyphenated name, I'm like, yo, bro.
yo, I got a hyphenated last name, Bet-David, but I understand Rogan Bet-David or Bet-David Rogan. So I want you to think about this. The part where I go is the following. The statistic, traditionalists, 0.8% are gay. Boomers, 2.6%. Then it goes to 5 point something. Then it goes 10%.
Is it really 10%?
Oh, yeah. Gen Z's right now is 21%.
How much of them are regretful?
Do you want to pull this? Jamie, can you look this?
21% gay?
21% of Gen Z right now is gay.
Is it gay or LGBTQ?
All that stuff.
Because you can be non-binary and slip right in there with like a real
Joe,
fucking loophole.
check that.
20%, 21% of Gen Z kids are LGBTQ. Yeah, where did that come from? Is it just totally natural, or has it been engineered, and is it being promoted in the schools and in the public square and on television and everywhere and on social media, which kids shouldn't be on, by the way. But yeah, this is not natural.
Look at that right there.
Number of LGBTQ identifying adults is soaring. Yeah.
Look at that. 0.8% traditionalists. Boomers 2.6, Gen X 4.2, Millennials 10.5, and then you got Gen Z's around 21%, right? Okay. So when you look at the statistics, why would Gen Z become gay? They care about what other people think. You know, this is like,
Right.
you know, it's kind of versus the traditionalist. Dude, if I'm like 72 years old and I'm gay, guess what? I'm coming out.
Right.
I'm like, hey, man, I am. What do you want to do about it? I'm going to go and hang out with Jose over here.
Yeah,
and
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Do what you got to do. So I think, you know, we're truly messing up with a generation that really cares about what other people think, and we're screwing them up in a big way.
Or also, they're growing up in a time of social media where
Yeah, both these guys are making great points. Not only are we letting down the youngest generation, but Joe, as he's just saying here, social media is the problem. I 100% agree with that. And just as a personal aside, I have a 12-year-old daughter. She does not have any social media. I've told her I don't care. She can hate me all she wants. All her friends have social media. I think it's a travesty. I will not let her have it.
Caring about what other people think is way more enforced because you're getting so much more feedback than people have ever gotten before.
Yeah.
Like a regular person might just be communicating with thousands of people in comments and arguing about things on social media
Yeah.
in a way where you would not interact with so many random people that you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely. Social media is, even for adults, it is toxic. It is dangerous. I hate to say dangerous, but it is a waste of time. It brings out the worst in everybody. Let's put it that way. I include myself in that.
And even that's a good point. Like even the social dilemma thing, kind of like where you're going, where these kids are so worried about what other people think.
yeah.
I think it's a big mistake, and I think we're going to pay a price for it. And it's going to take us a decade or two to see the results of this.
I think so.
Yeah, very good point. We're the youngest generation is going to suffer from this, which means society at large is going to suffer from this, and those ramifications will make themselves felt over at least a couple generations.
So too, and I think there's going to be a self-correcting thing. What I fear the most is the detransitioners. I feel terrible for them. I feel terrible for these girls that can never have children now, and I feel terrible for these guys that are castrated, and it's just the whole thing is just very spooky because
I don't even want to think about that. That's just outrageous. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, whether you think what Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet David are saying here is useful, if it makes sense. It makes sense to me. They took a while to get to the point, but yeah, I absolutely 100% agree.